Welcome, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are joining me from. So welcome, everyone. My name is Sarah Sladen. I'm the Senior Youth Engagement Advisor for Youth Power 2 Learning and Evaluation, and I support our YouthLead activities, in particular a focus on youth engagement. It is really exciting to see such a great turnout for this morning's launch event for YouthLead's new mentorship initiative. Before we get started, I'm just going to offer a little bit of background about this activity, and then we're going to hear from a few of our team members to walk you through the site before we move into breakout sessions. And our breakouts are going to be an opportunity to dive into the topic of mentorship more deeply and share your ideas, thoughts, and priorities with our team. And that will help guide our work on the mentorship initiative going forward. So it's great to see you all here today. I know that many of you are familiar with YouthLead. It's why you're here, but I want to just revisit the background of the platform and what we're trying to do with the mentorship initiative. So YouthLead was launched in 2018 under the USAID-funded project Youth Power Learning and continued today under YP2LE. As you know, YouthLead is designed for young change makers like you who are making a positive impact in your community through service, activism, advocacy, and education, and entrepreneurship. And our nearly 12,000 strong member network today are focused on finding solutions by connecting young people to ideas, resources, all focused on tackling critical issues that are impacting young people around the world. So if you are not yet a member of the YouthLead.org network, we invite you to join the platform. You can create a profile on the platform and start to connect with your peers. You can also find and post content in English, Spanish, and French. And we have Google Translate available on every page of the site. To share a little bit more about the mentorship initiative is guided by what we call positive youth development. This is a framework for youth engagement that recognizes the critical role of mentorship for promoting healthy relationships for young people, and more broadly, contributing to an enabling environment for youth. Mentorship can encompass a range of activities and stakeholders that identify and link youth to positive role models, mentors, coaches, teachers, healthcare providers, and community leaders. Ideally, young people have at least one caring and consistent adult or person in their lives, and healthy peer relationships, between your peers and between adults is really important. So under the YouthLead Mentorship Initiative, young change makers in our network can learn more about mentorship, explore resources and information for how to find and cultivate healthy mentorship relationships, and be a peer mentor to other young people. You can also search the page for mentorship programs and networks to help you support your personal and career pathways and to build your knowledge and skills in mentorship and related topics through live learning events and more that will be supported by our team and by our YouthLead partners and sponsors. We're really excited to get this initiative underway. And as I shared, the focus of our mentorship effort is not just about careers and jobs, but really about supporting young people all along your pathway by creating an environment that is supportive and that can connect you to others who can help give you advice, guidance, and support along your pathway. So I'm super excited to launch this. And I wanted to take a moment to recognize USAID as the funder of YouthLead and the supporter of this activity. And in particular, welcome Nancy Taggart, who is a Senior Youth and Workforce Development Advisor at USAID and supports our work under YP2LE. And to invite Nancy to introduce herself to all of you and just to say a few words about what mentorship means to USAID and why this activity is important. So Nancy, I want to welcome you today. Thank you so much for joining us and all of our YouthLead members.
Thanks so much, Sarah. Hi, everybody. Yeah, I'm delighted to be here. As Sarah said, I'm a youth and employment specialist, but I also manage this contract in the bowels of USAID Washington, although I sit outside of New York. Today, I'm actually in Ohio in the United States, so all over the place. But I'm super happy to help launch this. I know how much work has gone into this, so I have to extend my thanks to Sarah and the team and all of the youth leaders, the ambassadors, and our youth advisory group that have been supporting the development of this, and our interns and our Atlas Fellows. So thank you all so much. We're very excited. I know I've been, watching, okay, how's this initiative going over the past few months as it's been getting started and shaped. So very happy to be kicking this off. Yeah, I mean, I think Sarah gave a great overview, and I know we're going to hear more in a few minutes from everyone about it in detail. But yes, this initiative is really an expansion of what YouthLead is doing already, building out more resources to support the critical area of networking, professional development, but as Sarah said, further development for different pathways for careers and other personal development for young leaders. So we know how important that is. We're trying to strengthen some of those initiatives within USAID as well for our staff to promote diversity and more career mobility for our diverse staff. So we are very committed to this internally as well. But I really see this initiative as one part of what we're trying to support through both Youth Power 2 and our other big flagship initiative called Youth Excel to build up, equip young leaders and youth-led organizations to be equal partners in development and decision makers in development. So I really see this as one part of that. And we're very committed to doing that. And I know we're working with many of you under Youth Power and Youth Excel. So hopefully who are on the call today. So yeah, I'm really excited to see how this initiative rolls out over the next few months, and really look forward to your participation in that. So I think that's all I need to say, because I want to hear more about the initiative as well, along with all of you. So I'm going to turn it back over to Sarah and the team to go ahead and do that and present it. So thanks so much for joining. Thanks, Sarah.
Thanks, Nancy, and thanks so much for being here and for your support of this initiative. We are going to turn now to the page itself and walk you all through what you can find on youthlead.org, as well as what we plan to build out on the page and through this activity going forward. I'll talk a little bit more about what comes next before we turn to our fireside chat. But for now, I want to invite my colleague, Katie Pons, to share her screen and walk us through the YouthLead Mentorship Initiative page. Katie is a key member of our team for YouthLead, and she has helped design and helped us launch this page. So I'm excited to welcome Katie, and over to you.
Thanks so much, Sarah. Hi, everyone. Thank you again for joining us. As Sarah said, I'm Katie Pons. I'm the Knowledge Management Online Communities Manager with Youth Power 2 Learning and Evaluation. And today I'm going to be doing a quick run through of the Mentorship Initiative page on YouthLead to show you all what is available and where to access these resources. So I'll share my screen, and to begin, here is the YouthLead Mentorship Initiative homepage. So you can access this via the link that I will put in the chat here, or under initiatives on YouthLead. This page will bring you to all things mentorship on YouthLead, and I will quickly run through what is on this page before diving into some of the links that are available. So on this page, you'll find a brief overview of what the Mentorship Initiative is, and resources and ways to connect, and which I'll go into more detail about in a little bit. You'll also see this fantastic testimonial from Edna on the power of mentorship, highlights for the initiative, such as upcoming events and featured content, and finally, more information about how you all can help us grow the YouthLead Mentorship Initiative. So this is everything you'll see on the homepage, but to scroll back up to the top, the first link I really want to bring your attention to is this one right here. And this is our frequently asked questions about the mentorship initiative. So if you're interested in learning more about how we define mentorship, what the mentorship initiative offers, what it doesn't offer, and how this is all related to positive youth development, you can find that all here on this page. Next, and really the core elements of our mentorship initiative are these three buttons here. So the first button you will see is for our mentorship initiative resources. If you click on this link, you will be brought to this page where you'll see resources divided into 4 categories: being a mentor, finding a mentor, learning about mentorship, and mentorship programs. On this page, we have the top resources in each of these categories, and we'd encourage you to take some time to look at whatever sparks your interest and read through these curated list of resources. So to do this, you can navigate to any of these sections and then either click on the links here to explore the resources directly, or you can click on this button at the bottom of each section to find out more about the resources as they pertain to mentorship. So these lists are being built out and updated continuously so that we have the most up-to-date and best resources for each of these categories. So you'll see that each of these links to a resource page that gives you a bit more information about what is on the other side of that link. These are really fantastic, and I just want to say a huge thank you to the team for taking the time to build these out because they're really incredible curated lists. Additionally, there's a button here that will link you to the 4,000 plus other resources on YouthLead. We know that mentorship is of interest to all of you. That is why you're here today. But there are plenty of other resources on YouthLead that might be of interest, and I would encourage you to take some time to use the filters and find what is of interest to your work and your life. Next, on this page, this button is to connect with the YouthLead members. As Sarah mentioned, we have a growing network with over 13,000 members registered on YouthLead, and all members are welcome to connect via an online discussion platform around mentorship. So this is a great place for you to ask your questions. What would you like to know about mentorship? Do you have a resource to share? As well as respond to other people and the questions that they've asked to help build your own network around mentorship. So if you, I would encourage you all to log on to YouthLead later today, take a look at this discussion forum. And if you have any questions coming out of our session today, this is a great place to post those questions. Our team will be here to answer, as well as our mentorship partners. So to get into that, this third button is learning more about our mentorship partners. This will be the page where you can learn about who is involved in this mentorship initiative and how they're involved. And so once again, this will continue to be built out as we grow our mentorship partner network with the organizations dedicated to helping grow this initiative on YouthLead. All that said, we really are looking to all of you to help grow this initiative. We're really excited to hear today what you want and what you want to see in this space. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Katie. And as I shared, Katie was a key part of helping us build out this page and has done an amazing job with it. But we also rely on a larger team at YouthLead to help gather resources and share information. As we build out this initiative, however, we are looking to our members to help us grow this page. And that includes finding resources, as Katie shared, about mentorship programs. And if you have been part of a mentorship program in your own country or region that you would like us to be aware of, or that you think would be interesting and helpful to your fellow YouthLead members, we would love to hear about that. You can share your resources with our team. There's information for how to do that on the page. Or if you're already a YouthLead member, you can upload resources and information directly to the site. So we really want to engage you in this process of building out this page to make it helpful and useful for all of you. We are going to dive more deeply into the topics of mentorship that we would like to support under the YouthLead platform. But before we do that, we wanted to ground today in hearing from a few YouthLead leaders and speakers about their own mentorship experience. And it's really about kind of understanding what is the mentorship journey, what does it mean for you, how does it impact your life? And we thought it would be helpful to hear from 3 young leaders who have been engaged in mentorship in different ways. So to help us do that, we are going to transition now to a fireside chat. We're very lucky to have this chat be facilitated by our Atlas Core Fellow and YouthLead Youth Engagement Fellow, Gael. And she is going to welcome 3 of our former YouthLead ambassadors, as well as peer advisors, to that conversation to share more. So Gael, Asanella, Philbert, Meenakshi, thank you so much for joining us for this event today. We're so pleased to hear from you. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Gael to lead us in the fireside chat. Welcome, everybody.
Unfortunately, it's looking like Gael did have some technical difficulties.
Yeah, Katie, I'm here.
Great. Okay, Ephraim, do you want to step in? We had a plan in the event of technical difficulty, but we're also really have Ephraim on our team. He's also an Atlas Core Fellow and our Youth Engagement Fellow alongside Gail. So Ephraim, over to you.
Thank you very much, Sarah. Thank you, everyone. My name is Ephraim Batagano. I'm an Atlas Core Fellow and currently serving at Making Sense International as a Youth Engagement Fellow. And today I'm really excited to be here with all of you. And next up, we'll take you to a Fireside Chat session. And this session will be a discussion with our three amazing guest speakers. Sarah mentioned them before. And we will cover three parts in the Fireside Chat. I'll invite Philbert, Meenakshi, and Asonole, and all of them have worked and or working with us now as a YouthLead ambassador or as a YouthLead peer advisory group member. So all three of you, thank you very much for your participation as a guest speaker in this mentorship initiative launch event. So we'll have 20 minutes to spend on the Fireside Chat today. And I'll give to Philbert, Meenakshi, and Asonole to briefly introduce yourself before I start throwing the questions to you. Thank you. Please go ahead.
Thank you very much. Oh, okay. Please go ahead.
Go ahead, Philbert. Oh, all right. Hi, everyone. Thank you for having me. Good afternoon, good evening, and good morning to everybody who has joined us today. My name is Meenakshi Monga. I am an YouthLead peer advisor and advise mentors from different countries through this program. It's been really interesting and exciting to be here, and I look forward to share more during our talk. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. My name is Phil Batagano. I'm from Nairobi, Kenya. I'm privileged to have been a YouthLead ambassador and currently serving as a YouthLead peer advisor. Thank you so much. I look forward to the discussion.
Hi, everyone. My name is Asonele. I'm from Cape Town, South Africa. And I'm so excited to be part of this discussion today and also being involved in many of the networking that has been brought forward by YouthLead and Youth Power. So I'm really interested to see where the conversation will go. I'm looking forward to your inputs and your conversations. And thank you for having me today.
Thank you, all of you. I know mentorship journey is not just a 1 year or 2 year activity. I know sometimes it's a lifetime activity, and I want to start. I want to do this in three parts, which is like I will have questions about a session that asks us like a beginning of your mentorship experience. Then I'll go to in the middle part, which talks our questions about your mentorship growth and development. Then finally, I will go to is there even an end date for mentorship? Is there even a date that we say, okay, that's enough now, I can be a mentor now, it's over. Is there even a date? So such kind of questions I'll be asking. So I will ask one question, then we will do the same way, like Meenakshi will go first, then Philbert, then Asonole. Then I'll give you like a minute or something like that to answer the questions. So I will start with the question goes like, when did you realize you needed or wanted a mentor? So that's my first question for all of you. Meenakshi, you can start.
Yes, it's a very interesting question because many times we don't really realize in our lives that we really need a mentor. It kind of flows within. First, your maybe parents and siblings are mentoring you, and then at certain point in your life, you feel that, okay, you do need somebody more professional who has a thorough knowledge of the field that you would want to succeed or move forward in. And in my opinion, one person can have multiple mentors, whether it's to deal with like a personal issues or social or professional issues and so on and so forth. So I cannot like really say when there was like a aha moment for me, like, okay, I really need a mentor, but I certainly had realized this, that, okay, this person has been guiding me a lot. So this person can be a mentor for me. And that would, I would say, like sometime when I was like about 15, when the career decision sort of start taking place as we move into higher education and so on and so forth.
Philbert, you can go ahead with the same question, or I can. Okay.
Okay. Thank you so much. I was actually waiting for that prompt, but nonetheless, thank you so much. To answer the first question, I personally, I'll use a story, my own story in brief, to highlight the fact that sometimes in mentorship, a reason why mentorship exists is because most times you might not even realize that you need a mentor. That is the same story with me. I grew up from a background that was not conducive, or so to say, without giving too much detail. There was constantly cases of domestic violence, and that somehow impacted me, impacted my life negatively. So by the time I was reaching university, I did not even realize that all the domestic violence and all these other experiences that I had in childhood were having a toll on me. So it had to take a mentor, my very first mentor, a lady by the name of Nyakio. It had to take that mentor for me to realize that I needed a mentor, because she approached me, she talked to me, and in the she had noticed some kind of errant behavior, some kind of negativity that was consistent in how I reacted to discussions, how I reacted to issues, and even in a normal discussion around university within the church setting, my reaction was always violent. And I didn't realize that this was as a result of my upbringing. And so through the discussions, through the talks, the conversations that we had, I realized that I needed a mentor. So that is how it began, and she became my very first mentor. I'll leave it at that for now, even as I allow my other colleague to speak. Thank you.
Okay, I think I'll go. And so in my life, I wouldn't say it's like the same thing that Meenakshi and Philbert also mentioned. There wasn't a one aha moment, but I've always been a person that thought that I didn't need mentors. But so my mentors were not people that I went to kind of search for, but they were somehow attracted to my life in certain stages and in certain phases. And that's how many of my mentorship relationships have evolved over the years. But what I learned about myself recently is that I was more kind of linked to professional development mentors, and the balance of having people that were supportive in terms of my emotional well-being and my growth when I was younger were still also mentors, but they played different roles in the life cycle of my life. So yeah, I think for everybody it is different depending on what they need. But for me, I only realized at a later stage that, oh my word, I've actually had mentors, but I didn't even know that these people were mentors in my life. So it kind of forms part of your development and person. And I firmly believe that the right mentors will be attracted to you at the time that they need to be in your life.
Thank you, all three of you. I think we all have different ways of discovering mentorship, also understanding the importance of mentorship, and the first time of discovering our first mentor. So that's very interesting to hear from all three of you. So my second question is a little bit related to the first question. So what was the most important thing you learned from your first mentor? So one thing you've learned from your first mentor, if you are kind enough to share with us that lesson, that wisdom, please. I'll start with Meenakshi.
This question brings back so many memories. I think when you realize that you need a mentor, no matter how hard you try, you go to them with like some expectation and hope that they would say something that you want to hear. So I would say the first thing that I learned from them is like being brutally honest. So the mentors are, of course, there are ways to communicate things, but sometimes one has to be really upfront about certain things and like say the thing as is, just to ensure that you are on point. And so for me it was being brutally honest regardless of how the other person feels in that moment, because I believe later on that once you have some time to give a thought, you kind of understand the logic behind the conversation. So
Thanks. Gilbert.
Thank you so much. Just to continue with my line of thought and even my first experience, I have to apologize. My background is noisy. There's a bird. I really tried to send it away, but it's not going. So I beg for your pardon. But nonetheless, let's go straight ahead. I did not realize that I needed a mentor, as I talked about. So one interesting thing that I learned, one significant component that I learned from my first mentor was how to manage my attitude. That your attitude ideally determines your altitude. She gave me a book, The Winning Attitude by John C. Maxwell. And I remember reading this book. There's a lot that she wanted to share with me in terms of character development and changing my outlook on life, but I could not be able to, we couldn't have enough time to talk about this. And so that is the thing with mentorship. Mentorship is about somebody realizing some potential or some behavior in you that you yourself, you're not able to see. So many times we don't realize that we need mentors in our lives. It takes you to be able to see that in somebody, and it has defined my journey as well. I see potential in many young people, the young people that I mentor today, and sometimes when you tell them about something about themselves, that is when the light bulb moment hits them. They're like, oh, I actually didn't realize that I could do this. And that is what mentorship is all about. So one significant thing that I learned from my mentor, from my very first experience, is the attitude change that I needed to have towards life. And that is something that I'm still grateful to. I remember I think I've bought more than 10 copies of that book that I've given to respective other young people that I mentor. So that left a permanent imprint on my own character development journey. Thank you.
To answer the question from my side is what I learned during my first mentorship experience was it's not about you. It's not about yourself. It's a journey that you're walking with other people, and collaboration will get you to the next step that you need to be. And in having to learn that, I had to allow myself to listen more to others. I had to open up myself to say, how can you help me and how can I help you? Knowing that it was just not about me as a person, but working together and planting seeds in all these people that we're working with to produce a bigger vision, a bigger goal and everything. So that was one of the first things that I had to learn, because I remember one of my mentors said to me, you need to speak less and listen more. And I've always kept those words in my head when I feel that I'm speaking too much, and I'll be like, okay, hold on, speak less, listen more, because it's not just about you. It's about everything that's surrounding you and everything that you're working on and building on. So that's, yeah, something that I carry with me in everything that I do in my work too.
I think this is also a great lesson for all of us who are even currently mentors, but also being a mentee at the same time. So honesty is first thing that actually learned, an attitude change that made Philbert both 10 books, and also listening more and speaking less by Asonole. So great lessons from your first mentor. Thank you very much for sharing that. So next up, I'll go to the second part of our question and answer. So this part discovers more of your relationship with your mentor, and also how do you see people, if they are really available for mentorship, or are they really mentorable and things like that. So I will ask one question, then come back again and merge two questions together to ask you again. So thinking about your own experience, what are some important skills or traits that make people mentorable or able to be mentored by others? So I'm asking to share with us what are the most important skills that make someone to be mentored easily, or to be in that space of mentorship. I will start with Meenakshi, as usual. You're on mute.
Yeah, sorry, I was on mute. It's very sort of thought-provoking question, because like I completely agree with my colleague Asanel when she mentioned that it's not you don't choose a mentor, or it's sort of like a natural process. Of course, you can spread around the word that you're looking for somebody for some guidance, but in the end, I think it's a very natural phenomena that happens. But when it really comes to identifying some of the qualities that I personally would be looking into somebody who I would want to mentor or who I want to be a mentee for would be like I said, being honest is important and respecting each other's boundaries and time is important. And in the end, the decision is always yours. Whether a mentor can always give you a suggestion, show you a path, and talk about from his or her own experiences, but in the end, it's your own decision. So these three things are collectively very important for me, I believe. Over to Philbert.
Okay, thank you so much. I think to answer that question precisely, I would say that what some of the traits that would make someone mentorable is you must first of all realize your need. You must, well, you may not really, like in my case, you may not necessarily admit that you have a need, but at least you may need to, once the journey begins, you need to be in a self-recovery mode, a journey to recover yourself and to want to know how best and how fast you can achieve the best you or the better you. Because again, mentorship is all about making you better. I don't think there's any other mentorship journey that is meant to pull you down or to make you worse off than you were. So the first thing is, once you begin that journey of self-discovery, of self-recovery, you must be willing to take the journey and have the courage. Another thing, I want to echo the words of Asonele, that you really have to be someone who listens more. You really have to listen to people, because again, if you're going to be an abrasive kind of person who cannot be told something, then ideally it becomes, of course, yes, you need to, there's always this philosophy of arguing to, you agree to disagree, but ideally in a journey of mentorship, you realize that the other person who's mentoring you has something more to offer you. So in most cases, this is someone who is older in age, or can be somebody who is more experienced than you in your field of study or in your academic field or even in your career. So there should be that ability for you, an ability to listen and to take into account that which you're being told. Those two stand out for me. I'll turn it on to Asonele.
Sorry, before that, I just wanted to ask one question, Philbert. So it's very interesting that you brought Asonele's concept, which is like listening more and speaking less, right? So whom do you think should listen more, the mentor or the mentee? Because standing on the mentee side, of course, the mentee has to listen more. But also as a mentor, you as a mentor, sometimes you might be interested in listening more of from the mentee side. So whom do you think should listen more from your own perspective, from your experience in the YouthLead Ambassadorship Program?
Precisely, you actually captured my thoughts well, and I think we already have an answer to that question. Everyone needs to listen. Everyone, both sides need to listen, because as a mentor, what is going to make you be able to help this person more is to listen, not just to what they're saying physically, but to listen to their emotional reaction. You have to connect with this person emotionally. You have to connect with your mentee psychosocially, because for me to be able to diffuse a particular problem that is eating somebody from the inside, I really have to understand to what depth or to what extent this person's life may have been impacted negatively by a particular behavior or practice or something that they're doing or that they're not doing right. And also, if my case is to make somebody become a better person in terms of a career, or maybe to just learn a particular trade or a craft within their field of study, then ideally I need to observe. Observation is also part of listening. You observe this person, they become like your understudy, and you guide them. It's not about chiding or punishing or instilling discipline into somebody. It's more of listening and walking the journey with them. I'd leave it at that. Asonele?
Oh, is it my turn? Okay. You said so many powerful things. I was still kind of processing everything. So from my side, I think honesty is critical, and having clear expectations as to what is it that you want from this mentorship relationship. And like Philbert and also Meenakshi mentioned on it, is that there needs to be collaboration from both sides. It's not a teacher-student kind of relationship. It's a relationship where you are giving your own time, your own knowledge, your own personal skills and wisdom to helping another person grow in their journey, which means you really care about this person and you're trying so hard to make them a positive person in the world. So that relationship to me goes beyond than just a contractual relationship, which is why some mentorship relationships last for a very long time because of the nature of how the respect was between the people, the transparency was there, and just also respecting each other's time and respecting each other's opinions. And one thing also that kind of stands out for me, I think mentors in general or people that want to be mentored are more of servant leaders, because those people are giving more of their time to make sure that they're empowering other people. And once you start that cycle, it continues and you keep giving back. So it also has a certain aspect of wanting to be a servant leader rather than to be a self-serving leader. So those are the key things that I think make a mentorship relationship stand out and become stronger also.
Oh, well, thanks. So I've heard, honestly, this is for the third time. So I'm asking myself if I was really honest as a mentor, also as a mentee. And at the same time, if my mentee and mentor were also honest in this mentorship journey. So this is, I think, very important question that you brought. And also we've heard that self-discovery, the need for self-discovery is very important to be mentorable, or also to be able to be mentored. And collaborations, like Asonali mentioned, it has to be a collaborative process. It doesn't have to be one way to the other way. So these are the things that makes you very interesting person to be mentorable. So the other question is about relationship and growth. So how did you grow or change over the course of your relationship with your mentor, and how can your mentorship relationship grow or get stronger over time? So it's a question of how does the relationship between you and the mentor or the mentee can grow, and also it can be consistent in different platforms. So that's the second question for Meenakshi. Thanks.
I would really invite other other colleagues and participants to speak before me. I feel that it's important that we mix up a little bit. So I invite Asanel, with your permission, Ephraim, if that's all right, to speak first.
Can I go? Or Asanel, you ready?
Yeah, go for it. Go for it.
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you so much, Meenakshi. I think there's just one component that I want to address. I know my colleagues will also address other components. Some of these issues are applicable across board. What happens between the mentorship journey and the mentorship relationship? I believe, number one, it's something very confidential. There has to be trust. So trust is really the first component that can make the relationship grow really well. There's also the component of vulnerability. You know, and unless you're willing to accept, or unless you're willing to be vulnerable, or vulnerable is actually a subset of honesty. You have to really be vulnerable for this person to be able to understand you. And this goes across board, whether you're a mentee or whether you're a mentor. As a mentor, sometimes, you know, there's always that kind of authoritative angle that you want to adopt. So you might not want to be vulnerable as to some of the mistakes that you've made. But ideally, it is your story that is going to speak. It is your story that is going to help this person change. People like to relate at a personal level. I mean, if you give me an example from Mars, I've never been to Mars. I do not know if it's going to happen. But if you tell me about your own story, and you're a person that I see, you're a person that I know goes through the same challenges that I undergo, if it is within the professional realm, I know very well that engineering is a very tough profession, right from this time, right from school, and, you know, as someone progresses. I'm using that as an example. And so there has to be vulnerability, and there has to be trust. Lastly, and this is very dangerous, in cases where there is a male-female mentor, mentor kind of relationship, there has to be professionalism. I do not know how best, again, I can put this. I've seen or I've heard of scenarios where young men, not just young men, senior mentors who are male are mentoring young females, and the relationship loses focus. And so for this relationship to go forward and to be fruitful and helpful to both people, you've heard of scenarios where, well, there's special cases where mentors end up marrying each other or getting into relationships. God forbid. Mentorship should always be professional. And for the relationship to last, professionalism has to prevail. That is the only way that will safeguard against emotional betrayals and all the kind of, bad practices that might happen between gender-related issues within a relationship. I don't think I need to say any more beyond that, but those three stand out for me: professionalism, vulnerability, and trust. Thank you.
I agree with a couple of stuff that Philbert said there, and I wanted to also mention a different side that we often don't think about when going into mentorship relationships. And for example, if you get into a mentorship relationship where the mentor avails themselves to you and say, I'd like to help you, in that kind of relationship, there's usually no contractual agreement, as compared if you are getting into a mentorship program where there's a contract that says, you are going to work with this person for 6 months, and then after 6 months, you can decide if you want to continue or not. And sometimes because those systems are not in place, depending on the type of relationships, it makes it difficult for some people to open up to their mentors if they feel that they are no longer getting the value of the contractual agreement between the two. And what I've seen is that in certain relationships, because there isn't any honesty, or because people are not communicating openly with each other, sometimes there are frictions towards the end of a relationship if it didn't work well because there was no communication. So it is critical to communicate, even if the issue at hand is so difficult to discuss. It is critical to communicate because you don't want to stay in a mentorship relationship that is not working for you, or also that is not building you. So honesty, transparency, and just being open and honest in every single thing. And if you have to, if you want to be in a mentorship program for a year only, and that's what you want in your life, set those boundaries and say, here's a contract. We're only in this relationship for a year, and then next year we'll evaluate. So you need to know what you want also, and you need to set clear expectations of what you want between your mentor as yourself and yourself as well. Thank you.
Great points, Asonoli. Meenakshi, any thought on this one?
I would really I actually agree with everything that Philbert and Asonoli shared, and just would like to add that it's very important to have it may not always be the case that you're able to set clear boundaries, but I think it's like a developing, evolving relationship wherein if one is clear with what outcome one is expecting, it sort of helps in, I think, all walks of life. Whether you are applying for a course, these are the things you want, and if something else comes in, that is welcome. I think same goes for mentoring and mentorship as well. One important thing is at the beginning for me, at the beginning of the mentorship, I both like official and unofficial sort of mentorship, I sometimes felt too small, meaning that, okay, that person is doing so much, that person is taking out time to talk to me and showing me resources, guiding me. You feel small that, okay, I would want to do anything and everything in this world to, sort of pay them back. But for me, the learning was also that it's not necessary that you have to pay them back. While you are gaining some guidance from them, they're also gaining experience by mentoring you and developing their own leadership skills. So one shouldn't come under the pressure of, sort of giving the mentor something back. And I believe with time, you will be maybe 5 years, 7 years down the line, you will be in a position that you and your mentor can collaborate on something, on a project, and gain mutually from that collaboration. And when it comes to really sort of uh, getting off that feeling of, oh, I am so small, you can always think about giving it forward, so that this cycle of mentor and mentorship sort of continue to roll, and you end up sharing your experience of mentoring someone with your mentor, and it's like a big bubble of amazing mentorship and mentees.
Yeah, I mean, actually, it's like, I was thinking like paying it forward, like you become a mentee, then you become a mentor, then you go into another person, then you might become a mentee again, all over again, then you become also a mentor. So yeah, it's a continuum, right? That's very
Yeah,
interesting.
like there are so many amazing people, Anisol, Philbert, you yourself, Shakira. There are so many amazing people who were, I believe, mentee for at some point in their lives, and then they're like paying it forward by mentoring somebody else, and then it's kind of chain reaction, like the most beautiful one.
Yeah, we can come up with, I was thinking with a new phrase, mentoring it forward, like rather than paying it forward. So very interesting. So we only have 1 minute left, and I'll give it to any of you who's volunteered to answer this question. Because this also relates to the thing we talked right before now, do you see mentorship as a story with an end, and why? Like, is there an end for mentorship? If there is an end, then why do you think so? Anyone volunteer?
I would happily go for it.
Sure.
Just I will be very quick, Philbert, I promise. So it actually, these thoughts came in from my discussion with Anansal earlier, that there is no end to the mentorship. Sometimes it kind of evolves naturally, and sometimes it kind of separates naturally. Of course, one should always try to put an effort to stay in touch, regardless of whether you're task of being a mentor of mentee is done. For example, if it's like a fixed term, like 1 year, 6 months, and so on and so forth. But if you wish them Happy New Year, they will not like come back and bite you. It's like a way to sort of staying in touch and just checking up on each other at a more humanly manner, and just staying in touch, because like I said, after some time, you will have the capacity to give back to your mentor. And in worst case scenario, in case like things are not working out, so I believe just sort of drifting away without keeping any harsh feelings wouldn't harm really. Over to you, Philbert.
Thank you so much. I'll also keep this quick. I would say I beg to slightly differ. I think there is an end to mentorship, being that when it's beginning, there has to be a clear deliverable. There are some journeys that you cannot begin a journey. It's, to me, I treat it as a project. It has to be a project is something that has a beginning and a definite end. Now it might evolve into something else, but that evolution should be the end of that something. Why am I saying that? You should be in a position to review and to take lessons learned. The same way we do monitoring and evaluation of a project is the same way you should be able to review whether your mentorship is working. I mean, you cannot mentor someone continuously. They have to show some improvement. They have to grow. Now, if you're mentoring someone who's not growing, I mean, nobody's also going to be weak forever. And so I want to pray, and I want to posit here that mentorship ideally is something that should naturally end or should naturally evolve into something. If I have a young person that I'm mentoring in terms of his or her career, then a time should reach where this person attains a level where they can also take in or take on a few more people to do what? To mentor within that particular time. I remember back at the university, they used to assign us first years. Those senior students were assigned, we were assigned junior students. We were supposed to walk with them through a particular journey, and this journey had to come to an end. Now, there are those that evolved even way after university. But ideally, I think that mentorship should be something that is well structured. It should have a definite beginning. We should be able to, at the beginning, say it's like a baseline survey. At the beginning, we should be able to say, this is the issue, this is the problem that you have, and it might not even be a problem. This is the kind of the next level that you need to attain. And so when we go through the process with particular milestones that can be checked, at some point we may have to come to a definite end and say that, okay, based on this review that we have done, you've improved or you've progressed from this level to the next level. And so we are beginning a next phase of mentorship, or something like that. I do not know whether my thoughts are coherent, but that is what I think. Thank you so much.
Thanks very much. So I like the point that you've said. It might not be a problem, but also it might be just cultivating opportunities, right, with your mentee. So I think it's very interesting. Thank you very much. Our mentors actually have been a mentee, then also a mentor for our YouthLead Ambassadorship Program. And that's also a great achievement, I believe. And we've learned that it's an evolution from becoming from mentee, then mentor, and becoming again a mentee. Meenakshi said one thing in the chat, I was looking at it, each one mentor one, which I like. And also sometimes it's a natural process that comes with defined milestones, like Philbert said. And also vulnerability is a very important thing, which means like being honest with yourself, being honest with your mentee, and also with your mentor are very important. So these are actually great points. Thank you very much. We will proceed to the next session, which is also a breakout session. Thank you, all three of you. Keep mentoring and also achieve everything that you wished. So with that, I'll give it to Sarah to take us to the next session, which is the breakout session. And thank you very much.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you so much, Ephraim and Camilla, Meenakshi, and Philbert. That was I really enjoyed that discussion. It was great to hear your insights on mentorship, and you touched on so many points on relationships, listening, honesty, self-discovery, collaboration, safety, support, setting boundaries, setting expectations. There's so much there to dig into, and I think you've given our team so much to think about. We really appreciate it, and all of you have been tremendous peer advisors through our YouthLead Ambassador Program, and I know that you're doing this work in your own activities and businesses and initiatives. So grateful for your time. That was just terrific. And thank you to Ephraim for facilitating such an interesting conversation. All right, so welcome back, everyone. I know we are running short on time, as always, with these events. I wish we could have more time today, but we are going to be creating more opportunities like today's event through the Mentorship Initiative. So we'll be able to continue to talk about mentorship and mentorship in practice. I know there was great discussion going on in the different breakout groups. And so what I want to do now is invite our group facilitators just to share maybe one or two points that really jumped out for you that you'd like to share with the group about mentorship. I know there were a lot of different questions as well. So I leave it to the facilitator to decide what is it you'd like to share out with the group now before we wrap up today. So I'm going to start with group one. If the facilitator from group one could come off mute and share some of the insights you had from your breakout group.
Thank you so much, Sarah. My name is Muhoza Lian Mutaganzwa, YouthLead Ambassador Rwanda. I was one of the facilitators in group one. So if I can start with question number one, what they said. Actually, our group session was very collaborative and we are very grateful for that. Is that on question number two, there's something they said that really, I think it's very important, where one of them said, a good mentee should be willing to learn and the mentor willing to support. Something else I can say about a good mentor is about humility. There is one of the people who say that one of them, his experience, the mentor was very busy, and basically he wasn't really collaborative about respecting the time of his mentee. So here they mentioned something about humility. Something else, to be quick, is on the challenges. One of them said lack of specific goals. Basically, it was very collaborative, and I believe in our next session we have to share everything, but let me give time to others to share what they have to say. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Liam.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Okay.
Chirati,
Yeah, thank you very much, Lian.
Yes, Oladi.
Okay. Yeah. Okay, just to corroborate what Lian has said, my name is Oladime Shotunde, the youth ambassador for Nigeria, and of course, I was the co-facilitator for Group 1. I'm going to emphasize on the challenges very briefly. The participants, they spoke about the fact that finding a mentor in the first place is very challenging. That is them finding a mentor. Secondly, they also complained about mentors being extremely busy. That is something we have to look into. Also, they also spoke about how to approach a mentor, that is a challenge, that is approachability. And lastly, they also emphasized on suitability and the right match for both mentor and mentee. So those are the things that we're able to do out from our session. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Oladi, and thank you, Leon. Those are great points. So connectivity, willingness to learn, availability, those are all challenges and also opportunities for mentors and mentees to learn from one another. Chiranthi, you were in my group, you were group 2. Do you want to share some insights from our discussion?
Sure. So in the interest of time, I'll maybe take one point from three separate jam boards. So, or perhaps 3 separate questions that we spoke about. So my name is Chiranthi, and you can call me Chira because my name is not the easiest to pronounce. But when talking about the challenges that were faced during a mentorship experience, I think something that was noted was the fact that certain mentors ran into challenges where the mentees were actually very enthusiastic at the start of the mentorship program, but actually lost interest as the process went along. So I think one learning point for mentors as well as mentees is to ensure that there is adequate commitment to the mentorship experience, and ensuring that as a mentor, you make time for the mentee, but as a mentee, you are also understanding of the time commitments and the various obligations of the mentor. So then moving on to the second point, that's really what sort of resources are you expecting, or what sort of information would help you through the YouthLead Mentorship Initiative. So I'll actually speak about 2 points here, because I think this is perhaps the biggest takeaway for everyone here as well as the YouthLead team. So firstly, there was a note that said that there is a need for toolkits on mentoring, as in more or less like guidance points and various perhaps online toolkits that actually can help mentors perform better in their role as mentors, and also allows mentees to actually gain from the mentor-mentee relationship. And there was also a suggestion of on face-to-face practices, in how are you able to actually have, let's say, a virtual conversation with your mentor-mentee? How should you be sensitized, for example, to the mentee's experience? And how are you able to have conversations that are positive and productive? So those were, I think, 3 key learning points that I found very interesting.
Thanks, Chiranthi. Yeah, it's maintaining the momentum of a relationship and adapting and adjusting as we go along is a really key point that came through in group 2 for sure. Shakira or Kushal, you're group 3. Do you want to share out some quick insights on what came through from your group?
Hello everyone, this is Kushal, group facilitator from group 3. The important things that came into discussion in our session were how effective communication and professional relationship is important between mentee and the mentor relationship. That was a very important point of discussion. And the next is how the transition occurs between from being a mentee to being a mentor. It is a transitional process, and how it occurs was the next topic of discussion. And apart from that, as we are facing a pandemic of COVID-19 till now, and it is very important for us to work from remotely, and it is very difficult for us to meet a person face to face. So it is a difficult time to find a mentor and mentee around itself. So how we are going to find a mentor and mentee working remotely at our workplace for the next topic that came into discussion. Is the time was very limited, so these were the main topics that came into discussion. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Kushal. Firas and Esther, you're group 4.
Hello. Hello, everyone. So for us at group 4, yeah, it was quite interesting, as I had to share my personal view where mentorship and mentee is, like talking from both sides, especially being a peer ambassador for YouthLead in Nigeria. I shared one of the major challenges that I encountered, which is the time zone. So I want to speak to a mentee, but there's a time zone difference. So I had to make sure that everybody were carried along and the time frame for our speaking engagement was suitable for everybody. I also emphasized on trust and vulnerability. It's important that as a mentor, your mentee can trust their confidential issues or statements with you. They know that when I can trust this person, I can, share a lot more with this person. I can be more vulnerable with this person. This person would offer solutions or propose solutions that are tailor-made for me, and I would not hear it from a third party. So it was important that I emphasize on trust and vulnerability. I believe that Firaz would pick it up from here. Thank you.
Thanks, Amabola. I think it was a little difficult to hear you with some background noise, but I think I took one of your points around the challenges of bringing everyone along. Firas, did you want to add to that?
Yeah, I just wanted to add some of the qualities for a good mentee and good mentors that also fit with what our guest speaker said about having the respect between the mentors and the mentee, and setting boundaries and setting this kind of the frame between the mentee and the mentor, and having the positive attitudes and the honesty. And the most important thing about the active listening from both sides, from the mentee to listen from his mentor, and also from the mentor to listen to his or her mentee. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Firas. Yeah, there was an interesting combination of the practical components of mentorship, finding time, scheduling calls, but also this much more complicated dynamic of setting up trust, setting expectations, boundaries, and listening. Listening was a huge theme of that being a two-way street between mentor and mentee. Our last group in the time we have, I think, was Alexandria and Gael. Alex or Gael, do you want to share some quick insights before we wrap up today?
Absolutely. So Gael was unable to join us, unfortunately, but we had a great discussion, and we talked a lot about setting that type of relationship you want to have with each other, with the mentor and the mentee. And honesty and respect was the core ideas that our group spoke about, and how to handle differences in a non-confrontational way to make sure that that relationship is consistent and helpful for both sides. And it sounds like a lot of our group members are really excited to become both mentors and mentees. So I'm looking forward to their engagement on the platform. Thank you.
Thanks, Alexandria. Well, speaking of time, I know that we are over time, and so we're really grateful for all of you for joining and sticking in with us today. We wanted to make sure we captured as many of your ideas and reflections as we could. Before we wrap up, I just wanted to reiterate that we are going to be building out the YouthLead initiative on the YouthLead page. So if you'd like to learn more, please reach out to our team. We can drop the info email that you can message into the chat box now. We'll also reshare the link to the mentorship page. It is under the initiative section of YouthLead. And really want to invite your engagement. We will be looking to schedule some learning events in the coming weeks and months, and look forward to your contributions there. And we'll be gathering the ideas that you shared with us today to help kind of put a plan in place. So everything you've shared will inform our approach going forward. But again, we invite you to continue to reach out with any thoughts, or in particular kind of priority topics or areas where you're looking for more information, where you're looking for more support. I want to thank all of our YouthLead ambassadors, peer advisors, and youth advisory group members for facilitating today's session, for speaking, for sharing your thoughts and expertise with us, and of course your time. I also want to acknowledge the YouthLead team, and in particular, Katie Pons and Bryant, Ephraim, and Gael. Bryant has been in the background of this event, but he has been really a core part of making sure that today was a success, and for helping us get the mentorship initiative live and launched. Bryant is a social work intern with our team at YP2LE and YouthLead. So I just want to say thank you to Bryant for all of your work on this event today, for pulling all the pieces together. And again, thank you so much for joining us today and for your participation. And it's great to see so many of you and your comments and ideas in the chat box. So we hope that you stay safe, that you stay well. And if you have any questions or you want to learn more, please visit youthlead.org for more information or reach out to our team to learn more. If you are a partner organization, if you're an implementing organization, you can also reach out to me directly at sarahs@makingsense.com. If you would like to explore how your organization can support this initiative on YouthLead as a partner. So we welcome your engagement, and thanks again to everybody. Have a great rest of your day.